today I want to talk about something we secretly struggle with but rarely admit: letting go of the need to be an expert. Because thinking that we have to be an expert at certain things would hold us back in ways we don't even realize. When we walk into life and when we approach our issues feeling like we need to know it, it's going to make us miss the wonder, the curiosity, and opportunities we can get from it because we feel like we already know it. So when you approach a problem, just take a second to imagine like if it were new, you know how you would be so excited and how your curiosity level would be so high when you were kids. Imagine that, and imagine you approach everything in your life with that kind of curiosity and with that kind of excitement. That could actually be the key to opening doors you never even knew were there. And if you didn't notice, I'm definitely a beginner at a lot of things, even in this podcast. So I just want to share mindset shifts that have helped me make this journey a bit easier, because it's not really easy to be a beginner, or it's not really easy when you've been doing something for such a long time and you still have to be in the beginning process, or you still have to be at that first step. You always want to be like an expert. You want to feel like you know this, you've been doing it for so long. Because I've recorded more than 50 podcast episodes, but I still consider myself a beginner. I'm still learning and looking at things with curiosity, and I'm still excited about it, instead of being like I know it all and I just don't want to be so excited about it anymore. Hi guys, it's Princess. Welcome back to Inspire That podcast. I'm so happy you're here. If you're a returning subscriber, I love you so much. Thank you. And if this is your first time here, my name is Princess, and this is a podcast where I share everything along my self-development journey, learning, unlearning, finding new ways to do old things, or finding new ways to even do new things, because life is just a rocky journey, and I'm really excited if you'll be joining this journey with me. I started thinking about this podcast episode when I realized that I'm actually a beginner in a lot of things, and a few years ago I would hate being a beginner. I would feel I've done this for a few months now and I should be really good at this. I should reach that expertise level, at least be an intermediate at it or something, but definitely not a beginner, because beginners, being at the beginning, it just sucks. It's just not good. Because I even remembered yesterday I was doing something so challenging, and then I thought to myself, this is so challenging, but well, I'm a beginner and it's supposed to be challenging, and I'm going to put in all the efforts to make sure this works. Because if I feel like I'm an expert at this, I'm not going to put in the effort, because experts don't need to put in that effort. They're already good at it. So letting go of that idea that I should be an expert in some certain things, not in everything, but in some certain things, is going to just open me up to putting in that work. And a beginner's mindset is very essential, because it makes you more adaptable to the things around you. You feel everything you know about something, you can easily just drop it and be like, okay, I'm ready to start afresh. And honestly, what made me really think about being a beginner and everything is because I was genuinely tired of approaching new things with my old ways, because it wasn't working. If I'm just using the old ideas I have to keep approaching new things, I will be stuck. I was feeling really stuck. And embracing this beginner mindset, it allows you to free yourself from being embarrassed at not knowing certain things. Because guess what, you're a beginner. When you have a chat with someone, you can easily say, I don't know this yet, or I'm going to figure this out later. And you can easily make a mistake without feeling like it is the end of the world, because you're a beginner. Being a beginner is we shouldn't stay there for long, but it's really a good place to start from. We shouldn't start from feeling like we should avoid every single mistake. If you feel like something, we should be so embarrassed about it. Open up yourself, expose yourself to things around you. And ultimately, the beginner mindset makes you being willing to learn. Because if you don't accept that you're a beginner, you're not willing to learn everything that a beginner should know and everything that a beginner should be. But once you accept the fact that you're a beginner, embrace this growth mindset, you are now able to learn. You're open, you're willing to learn every single thing from the first step, not trying to cut through the corners. And honestly, your superpower as a beginner is that curiosity, because curiosity is where everything is. I was reading a story of a woman where she doesn't follow the money, like regarding like her careers and everything. She doesn't follow what will give her the most money. She follows what she's really, really curious about. And then I think she was working at Uber or something like that, and she was like kind of fed up working there. Well, not fed up, but like she knew everything about it, and she was just really, really good at it. But they offered her so much for her to stay there, but she didn't stay there. She went to another place where she was curious about, and like she didn't know anything about it. And it happened to be Snapchat. And at that time it wasn't like this big thing. So it happened to be Snapchat. And because she followed what she was curious about, she went on to Snapchat, and she even made so much more than she would have made if she stayed at her former company. So I'm trying to embody this and just follow what I'm most curious about, because when I'm not curious about something, it becomes so boring, and then my life becomes so boring, and then what's the point of even living this life when every single thing is so boring? So follow what you're curious about, because you following curiosity, it offers even more value than following other things, because this forces you to be creative. This forces you to find unique solutions to new things. But when you're in your safe space, when you're in a place where you don't have to be curious, or when you don't want to be curious, you be in a state of mental rot or creative rot, because you're not being challenged mentally. But when you're so curious about something, you have no option, you have no choice but to find a unique solution to this unique problem that you're facing. And being a beginner, it actually builds your confidence and builds resilience, because once you do something like at first and you're so curious about it, and you just figure out like solutions to something because it is so new to you, when you're faced with something else, something different, which you're also a beginner at, you would be able to use that resilience you built up from that first thing that you did. You'll be able to channel it into the next thing that you're doing. So it just makes you more confident in the things around you, because this is not the first time that I'm trying to challenge myself in being a beginner at something. This is not the first time that I've accepted that I'm a beginner at something. So it's relatively more easy than the first few things that I'm like, okay, you know what, I'm a beginner at this, and I just have to do what beginners do. And what do beginners do? Beginners put in the work. Beginners try their hardest at something. Beginners are not afraid to fail, because they know that it is all part of the process. And another thing why I love embracing the beginner mindset is that it makes me go on for longer. Like, I don't easily give up when I'm a beginner, even if I might just take a break. I might take many breaks, but I know that I will not give up, because I'm a beginner and I'm not supposed to know it. But when I keep telling myself like, oh, I'm an expert, I should know all this, I should know it all, I'm just thinking that I should know it all, I would easily give up when I actually realize I do not know it all. But when I don't put that pressure on myself for trying to know it, or for trying to be really, really good at something when I am not good at it yet, without putting in the work, I can easily put in the work without fear. I can easily put in the work without doubt, because I know that there are stages in everything. But when I try to jump to the know-it-all stage, I will easily give up, because it's tiring. Like, I'm supposed to know everything, but I don't. You know what? I'm going to give up. It's not for me. You easily tag things as not for me when you want to start from a know-it-all perspective instead of from a beginner perspective. And the know-it-all mindset is so toxic, because it limits your ability to learn. Instead of you to put in the work, instead of you to do things as you were supposed to, instead of you to do things according to protocol, you want to break down the steps. You want to try and find the easiest possible way, which is not bad. It's like your ego is trying to be perfect at something when you haven't put in the hours into it. And when you come from this know-it-all perspective, you stop asking questions. You stop allowing yourself fail. You stop being curious. So it's like you're building walls around yourself, which blocks new ideas, which blocks insight, and which blocks new opportunities. And I'm sure this is comfortable. Like, you feeling like you know certain things is a very comfortable place to be in, because it's hard to admit that you're a beginner. It's hard to admit that you don't know something. So it's very comfortable to be in a know-it-all mindset, know-it-all place, but it doesn't offer you growth. It doesn't offer you things that you would actually need to live on a fulfilling life. And since we feel like experts, we won't want to seem unprepared. We won't want to kind of like humble ourselves when we actually meet the expert at it. And also, being an expert makes us so scared of failing, because we're supposed to know it. This fear then holds you back from exploring places where actual beginners should be. And it's kind of ironic because the more we focus on being experts, the more we are scared of being seen as beginners, which prevents us from taking the steps to growth and success. So letting go of expertise is the first step to expanding and becoming who you want to be. So it's not just a mindset, it's not just having a beginner mindset, it's about unlocking that potential that you didn't even know was there. So how can I embody this growth mindset, or how can I embody this beginner mindset? Is to just embrace challenges and see them as opportunities for growth. I've literally been thinking about this because I just can't shut up about it, because I'm trying to never ever forget it, because at every single step there'll always be a challenge, there'll always be something new, and I'm trying to appreciate it more and practice what I preach, of course, and also preach what I feel is really helping me along this journey. And change your inner dialogue from this is so hard and this is just so impossible to, if I actually figure out this thing, I'm going to have grown so much. And this is personally what I'm doing every single day of my life, facing something so challenging, and I'm like, you know what, if I figure this out, my future self will thank me so much. And like I said in my former episodes, what I'm doing the most is just to try and make sure my future self has it easier, because I don't know what lies ahead. So what I have right now, what is on my plate, I should figure out ways to sort them out. And this beginner mindset or this growth mindset, just forget how you've been doing things before, because they've clearly not been working. Forget how you've been doing things before and just wipe the slate clean. Let go of ego, let go of habits, the way you used to do your things. Let go of it and just start afresh. Approach old things with new skills or new methods. And always view failure as feedback, not a stopping point, because beginners definitely fail, and that's why they're beginners. So journal about this failure or setback, and instead of focusing on what didn't work, focus on what you learned from it and what you're going to do differently next time. Write down 1 or 2 things that you want and put yet at the ending, like, okay, this hasn't happened yet. You having a yet mindset opens you to grow and have future success. And prioritize your effort over outcome. Having more outcome goals, which is what you want to achieve, something that is not in your control, would drain your motivation. But you saying, I'm going to put in this amount of effort. For example, if you're learning a new skill, don't say, okay, by the time I'm done learning this skill, I want to have XYZ job. That is a good goal. Don't get me wrong, that is a good goal. But what you should focus more on is, okay, I'm going to put in 2 hours of my day into this skill. I'm going to put in XYZ amount of hours. I'm going to do this. I'm going to challenge myself in certain areas of my life. That is a better place to be in, instead of focusing on the outcome. I want to get this, I want to get that, when you're not even playing your own part at first. And another thing that I'm trying to embody in my life is to get a growth journal. I don't know what I'm learning this week, because what I feel this will do for me is it's going to force me to find things to learn. It's going to force me to challenge myself just so that I can write down something, because I don't want my growth journal to be boring, because I've already done the gratitude journal thing and it really helps me. It really changed my outlook on life. So I want to figure out another one aside from my daily journaling, because I want to journal for 21 days straight, and I'm going to give you guys an update. But aside from my daily journaling, I want to have a separate growth journal where I journal everything that I've just learned, every new insight. Well, kind of like this podcast is kind of like my growth journal, because every time I'm documenting everything that I've learned and just sharing it. And turn your anxiety into action, because anxiety isn't always bad. When I feel anxious about doing something, it's not a sign that I should not do it, because when I think to myself, anytime I'm anxious about something and I go ahead and do it, it always ends up good. It always ends up giving me growth and making me look at things differently, because that anxiety it's not a sign of it's not a sign of you should stay where you are, because your brain doesn't know what lies ahead. So it's kind of protecting you, but you shouldn't always listen to that feeling of anxiety when faced with something challenging, because obviously you're new to it, and accepting that you're new to it would allow you to act in spite of that anxiety. Because you're new to it, of course you're going to be anxious, of course you're not going to be comfortable, of course your hands might be shaking, of course your heart might be pounding, because it's just normal, and because you're a beginner at it. Instead of feeling okay, I'm so scared right now, I don't want to do this. Like, no, it should be the other way around. You're so scared right now, but you should do it because you should face your fears. I'm sure we've always heard like face your fears, face your fears, face your fears, and it's easier said than done. Honestly, even this like whole beginner mindset and challenging yourself, it is really really easier said than done. Because yesterday I was journaling because I was scripting yesterday as well, and I was just journaling yesterday, and I was like, you know what? I'm going on this podcast to say like, oh, be a beginner. It's like challenge yourself, put yourself out there, expose yourself. But it's really easier said than done because I'm also applying this as we speak. Like, I'm not talking from the perspective of, you know what, 2 years ago it was so challenging for me to do this. So as I'm saying this, I desperately don't want to be a hypocrite, and I desperately want to practice what I preach by also applying this in my life. So, and I know that all these things, embracing challenges, seeing failure as like a stepping stone to success, not a stopping point. Take constructive criticism, learn from those criticism. Don't always shut down criticism. It is so difficult to do. And I would say the only thing, like if you didn't take anything away from this episode, what has really, really helped me is just agreeing. Like, aside from everything, just agree that you're a beginner. Agree that you're going to flop. Agree that it may not even like be the most glamorous thing out there. Just agree with it. And when you agree that you're a beginner at certain things, when you're faced with something challenging, it won't even be new to you. You'll just be calm, you'll be cool, because that's what I've noticed in myself so much. The more I accept that I'm a beginner at something, the more I can approach challenges with a cool, clear mind. I don't just like freak out like I normally would, and it has just been helping me so much that I'm so excited to share it. So if you enjoyed this podcast episode, please leave a review or a comment what you learned. Like, let's just see what's working and what's not working, and share with your friend, of course, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you in my next week's episode.